One of the questions asked was how to generate executive level referrals. And that's part and parcel of what search is about. We source. We tap into a network of people and we get referrals for candidates. And years ago when I started in search, it was 22 years ago now, a long time ago, I realised that actually the most successful candidates I ever placed were the ones that had been given to me by other people. And that, I didn't know what I was doing then, quite frankly, but I've learned over the years that the way to get the best quality individuals is to source for them. And then, you know, as an in-house, who do you source? You know, who do you tap into? And a rule of thumb for us is usually we'll know them, not always, but usually we'll know who we want to source. It's somebody whose quality and background you trust, so that you know that if they're going to give you a name, they're going to actually give you a quality name, and that you trust their opinion. How to engage you, how to get their attention. Everybody is so time poor at the moment. Nobody has got time to pick up the phone to answer emails. We're all struggling with that, quite frankly, candidates and clients alike. And what works best, I think, is if you're trying to get somebody's attention, make it first about them. So if there's an individual you want to source and it's an MD, a group HR director, you know, a marketing CMO, and you want to get their attention, it's probably best to make the first approach about them. You know, love to catch up with you, like to know what you're doing, I'd like to get your advice, I trust your advice, and you'll probably get more from the conversation if they don't feel that it's just a case of I just want your information. It's I want to know about you, and you'll find that you do get more attention from them, and they will then come back and perhaps give you more information. And the thing that we all suffer with, and I'm sure, you know, search in-house, that you'll have an individual who says, yes, I know so-and-so and he or she is looking. That's kind of not what we're looking for. So in order to get the right people, you have to really set out the stall. And if you've got their attention by talking about them first, you hopefully will get more than, I know so-and-so's looking. And then actually, yes, I'm not necessarily looking for somebody's looking. What about, who do you know that's the best? So-and-so's the best. They're not, but I know they're not looking. No, but I would like to talk to them to get their advice on who to talk to, and then you will be able to get the information, maybe even a contact number to get to talk to the person you want to, who your source doesn't think is looking, but you may be able to convert into an individual, a candidate. So ask sources for other sources rather than just asking them for candidates, because you'll just get people who are, you know, they'll say that they're looking. And then the other thing that's really important, because it's easy to call somebody to ask their advice. They tell you the best CMO in the world is Fred Jones. Say, great, thank you. Have you got his number? Yes, I'm going to phone Fred Jones. But just taking a little bit more time around the, why is Fred Jones the best? What have you seen? What have you heard about? And you gather that data, and then you have a reference. You have an informal reference to start with. So later down the line, when one of your internal stakeholders says, I'm not so sure about Fred Jones, you can say, well, actually, this is what these people have said about him. My focus is global HR. That's all I do. Global HR, and that obviously includes talent acquisition. And I know one of the questions earlier was, you know, how do other TA functions set up? And that's probably something that we can answer in a round table or a one-on-one. There are no silver bullets about this. If diversity is gender, female talent, then it's easier. But one of the things, particularly in my function, HR, it's not such an issue because there are a lot of women in HR, and you know, understanding where the great women are and the women that are right for whatever client it is not such a challenge. There are functions where it is more of a challenge, technology, for example, and also with ethnic diversity. One of our partners, he's black and he has a community, and he says, Lisa, what my community, my network hate is when they feel it's tokenism, that they're being approached because there's a quota. In functions where there's hard to find women, they also feel that it's tokenism and there's a quota. So you have to be really clear. We're looking at you because you have these skills, these experiences. This is why we want you, not because you fill the diversity quota. And being authentic about that, because there is a lot of suspicion. So you have to be really clear. And, you know, make sure that your diversity candidate is on that list because they are a quality candidate that can do the job, not just because of the need for your diverse shortlist. You know, I don't know how many of you get a chance to do non-exec work. It's a joy when it comes through. But if you look at, you know, there's so much noise in the world of board recruitment. It started with the Davis report a few years ago. Only 18 women with no board experience were appointed. So even though there's a lot of noise about it, it's not always happening. So talent attraction, I was thinking, you know, what is the difference between talent attraction and executive search? And there was lots of different answers. But I think it is about your EVP. And many of you will have, you know, you'll be dealing with your talent brand, you'll have built a tremendous EVP, it will be there in social media, you'll have put it in all channels that you can. And then you might partner with a search firm, or you might be doing your own job specs internally, and I've seen some very bland and plain black and white job specs that don't necessarily reflect the brand that you're trying to put out there. So, you know, I usually have to ask clients, tell me about the EVP. What does it mean? What does it stand for? What's your data? Send me all your presentations, because it doesn't normally come unless I ask. So if you're partnering, let's make sure you do that. And then have your job specs. Sing, you know, bring them to life. Put interactive presentations. You know, you can link through to some of those to presentations that if your candidate, they're not a job seeker, they're not necessarily looking to move, but they've got a job spec and they might just press that link that's in it to see a presentation on innovation, and you've got a bit more attention from them. So getting the most out of search, if you are going to use a search partner, you have to choose specialists. And the market's changing so much because, you know, there were generalists a few years ago, but now even somebody who's just a sector specialist is not a deep enough specialist. You need to know somebody knows a community and can tap into that community, and they will have kissed enough frogs to know where the good ones are and where the princes are. So a lot of you will have you'll have your partnerships. So you know, you'll have partnered with two or three Shrek firms and a couple of boutique firms, and you'll go to that search partner, but you might want supply chain in China. But that search firm that you partner with might not have a supply chain expert in China. So you need to think about, actually, let's find somebody who is that expert, because one, they'll do it quicker. Two, they'll know where not to go. So I think it's really important that you quiz your search partner and to their depth of specialism, even to the point of taking references. I know that's certainly been my experience. And then also, you know, it's not just about knowing the candidate population. It is about knowing organizational cultures, dynamics, operating models. So understanding that is as important, knowing where the candidates come from and whether they've succeeded or failed in that environment. And context. I mean, you all know that the best candidate isn't always going to be the best candidate in your business. We've talked about the informal referencing, because that's something that, you know, search firms can do really well. And then there aren't any shortcuts. I know I work with some of my lovely clients, and one, a global multinational business, and I said to the internal team, how many open projects have you got on your desk right now? She said 26. So, okay, I wouldn't let my researchers do more than 3, because you don't just get the answer. So the dedicated resource is going to be a challenge for some. Obviously, when search is confidential, that's a bit of a no-brainer. You need to go out. The other thing is, if your brand is not well known, or your brand is perhaps going through some very public challenges, you're downsizing, you're letting people go, you're selling off part of, whatever it is, search can be very useful, because clearly candidates will respond to search firm because there's more than one opportunity they might have. And then you hope that your search partner might be persuasive enough to get them through the door. Obviously, when resources constrained, one of the things that you can do, because we've talked about the specialism and being a domain expert. I mean, it's taken me 20 years to get to know as much as I know about HR, and I've probably still got lots to learn. But you can outsource part of the process, and it's really easy to do that, and you do that with some clients. So your search partner can do the mapping, and they'll do the mapping not just, you've gone out to the market, so the research firm can do that for you and go out to the market and see which people are in which roles. That's easy. You can outsource that to a research partner. If you outsource that to a search partner, they can give you qualitative information on the people on that mapping, because they will know more about them and they'll have been able to do some of that sourcing. So outsource the mapping. You've got your data, you've got your names of people, and then make your own approaches. That makes a lot of sense, rather than just outsourcing it. The sourcing, the referencing, clients often outsource the referencing because you don't want the reference just the ones that have been given to you by the candidate. You want to talk to people who the candidate hasn't provided. And informal touch points. I mean, some of my clients will phone me and say, right, I've put this long list together, I'm going to present it next week. What do you think of these 10 people? And I'll say, yes, maybe, check that one out, phone that person. Yes, and that's a collaborative partnership way of working, because that internal recruiter is going to be doing a better job. I've got brownie points for future, because then, or whichever search partner it is, you've earned your brownie points, and next time there is a search, they will come to you first, hopefully.